Right. I think everything's set up. Good to go. It's been a minute, hasn't it? But we are back. It's myself and Josh today. It's Six Boxing. We've finally been able to get our schedules together to do a live stream today. So thanks for being here. We're a little bit late, unfortunately. Some technical issues getting all set up, but we're here now. We're back. We are good to go, ready for another watch along of a kind of a classic fight, I guess, in more recent years than certainly ones that we've covered in the past on this series. Josh, it's been a while since we've got together. How you doing, mate?
Hey, doing well. You know, it has been a good while. Hey, time never stops, but we're back in the mix, and we've had some pretty solid action here overall. But I'd imagine we'll keep it up here moving forward. So looking forward to diving into this one, a fight that should be a very interesting one to actually watch and then see what the outcome ultimately turns out to be. I've only seen it once, but I remember it being pretty exciting.
Yeah, I recall it being an exciting fight at the time. It's like 8 years ago now, so it's not all that fresh in the memory, but I can't remember much about the actual fight itself, to be fair, but I remember I would have watched it at the time. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. What we'll do first is let's just gloss over the events that happened last night over here in the UK. The big fight was the upper heavyweights. It was Joe Joyce versus Derek Chisora. Big upset, I guess, on the cards. Derek Chisora got the win by decision. I think it was a unanimous decision. I've not seen the fight, unfortunately. I've seen just some highlights and things this morning. I don't believe the two fighters looked very good from all accounts from what I've read. And obviously, you know, people expected Joe Joyce probably to have won that fight. Probably should have been winning it fairly comfortable if he was anything like going to get back into the title mix. So I don't think you've seen the full fight, Josh, but give us some thoughts on the result from what you know.
Yeah, I had it up in the midst of me doing some other things, I would say, and I was surprised at the overall outcome. Just like anyone else, I was thinking that this was Joe Joyce having that opportunity to rebound and get himself back into the title picture in some capacity, though it's still pretty much a logjam there up top. But it turns out that we haven't seen the death of Derek Chisora as of yet, despite all of these contests and him going through some ups and downs and us wondering why is he getting another big fight. He seems to deliver. He rises to the moment and occasion, and he does what he needs to do. And the judges saw him as the victor in this contest, even dropping Joe Joyce, who, for all intents and purposes, seems to have put himself in a place where realistically getting any form of a title shot or being considered right in that cusp now is all but gone, especially when you factor in his age and such. This was probably a bigger loss for Joe Joyce than it would have been, of course, for Derek Chisora, who really has nothing to lose at this point. And as long as he can continue to work himself into big fights, then that is a win-win situation for him. But as far as Joe Joyce is concerned, yeah, I don't know what he does from here. It's like maybe that or those two fights with John Gillette just took a bit of something out of him to where, he just doesn't have that brute mentality that would allow for him to rise to the occasion in the way that he previously was. It's so crazy that he was considered a juggernaut, and it was a person you barely can dent him, and when it all came crashing down, it looks like it's really going down as far as where he stands now as a heavyweight contender. And I guess you can say realistically, not top 10 at this point, not top 10. So big ups to Derek Chisora, man. He keeps finding a way.
Yeah, it does. When this fight got announced, I think there was a collective sigh, probably. Oh no, man, Derek Chisora in another fight. It's all he knows. He just wants to keep fighting and boxing. He's 40 years old now, but I mean, he got the result last night. It showed that maybe he's still got a little bit of life in him, and still maybe at a certain level, But this is obviously quite a risk for him to take. But like I say, he had nothing to lose, and he's won. I don't know what the odds were, to be honest, before the fight, but I assumed that Joyce would have been, pretty heavy favourite. I would have imagined anyway. But yeah, I mean, we say we don't know where Joe Joyce goes next, but I mean, what does that do for Chisora? Does it? He fought almost everybody anyway in the division. It keeps him going, but man, who might he face next? I'm not too sure. But yeah, for Joe Joyce, again, you've got to ask questions of what's next for him. He's had those 2 big losses to Zhang. He had the comeback fight last time out where he didn't look very good against Cash Ali, got a stoppage at the very end. And then obviously he's lost again last night to Derek Chisora, his 3rd loss on his record. Yeah, I guess it'll remain to be seen what actually happens to the Juggernaut, but all the indications are he's definitely on the slide from his peak. So unfortunate, but that's boxing, and that's how things go sometimes. So yeah, the heavyweight scene shifts a little bit more, although maybe not too much in the rankings. I think they were ranked pretty close together. Maybe they're both outside of that top 10, you'd say. All right, let's just see what else was on that undercard, because I am not too sure. There was Dennis McCann got a win over Baluta. I think that was a rematch, wasn't it? Because the previous fight was a draw because of a accidental head clash.
Oh, okay.
So that got stopped. It was a draw because of the scores at the time of the stoppage. And it looks like Dennis McCann won last night, a unanimous decision. Looks pretty comfortable from the scores, 170 and 111 twice, and then a 120 and 108. So it looks like he coasted to a win there. Ryan Garner beat Archie Sharp. There were 2 undefeated fighters going in against each other. Ryan Garner was 15-0, Archie Sharp 25-0.
I was able to catch a little bit of that right there, a number of rounds in there, and I thought it was pretty solid action there. Garner got the deserved victory. He was in the lead for the most part throughout. So he showed that, hey, he can hang in there with the guy who had more fights than him. You look at the overall total, so experience, you would say. But he looked like he was the more experienced guy in there with the way he handled himself. So big things could be in store for him.
Okay. Sounds good. And the other one I wanted to touch on, it's quite a stacked card here. Just looking through this, there's quite a lot of 8-rounders, a couple of 4-rounders, several 10-rounders as well. There was Raven Chapman against Johanna Sarabia. Ladies, that looks like a whitewash, 100-90 across the board. Sean Noakes beat Inda Bassi, another decision. But this one, Moses Atoma got a pretty spectacular stoppage by the looks of things against veteran Marius Watch. Don't know how to say his last name, unfortunately. But yeah, a big second round stoppage. Fraser Clark fought Mario Watch a few fights ago last year. He went the decision. Won on a decision. Apologies. Atoma's got him the job done in 2 rounds, and that's probably made a statement. Put the division on notice. He's only 19, I think. Moses Atoma. Wow. People are getting excited about him over here. I've seen some, comments on X, praising him, saying that he could be the future of the division. He looks, very good. Did you say you caught a little bit of this, or you saw some highlights?
Yeah, I caught the key highlights that really, I guess, pinpoint exactly how it went down because there really wasn't much from Wak at this point, who was overwhelmed as Atoma steamrolled him. And Atoma is a good name, good young name there to be added to the division. Actually, leading into this, I picked Atoma to win it, but I thought it would be a decision. I thought he would actually kind of work his way through Wak and get the victory just based on him being the more active fighter, younger, fresher, active fighter. But he came in intent on getting him out of there, and it looked like that was the overall game plan from the start, and Wak was overwhelmed. You could see it on his face, and when it was ultimately stopped, yeah, it seemed like that it was a saving from the referee, and Wak was happy for it, for that matter. Now, Moises Atoma, yeah, at such a young age, he's really ready to take things by storm. Wak came in at over 280 pounds, and Atoma was, I believe, 239, somewhere around there, 230s in that range. So that goes to show that, hey, despite all of that extra weight that Wak was carrying and him being the bigger fighter, which you can visibly see as well, hey, when you're able to put your punches together, go in and try and steamroll someone in that way, and you're landing crisply, hey, that's tough to deal with, size removed. So I think Moises Atoma is a very, very solid name to add to the mixture here. I've had discussions with Bods, for that matter, on this in terms of those young crop of heavyweights that are coming up, especially thinking about the British heavyweight, and Atoma is one of them. Johnny Fisher, those might be the two who are on a similar type trajectory, though Fisher has a few more fights than Atoma does, but they are kind of going to be in that wave of, okay, the guys right after the likes of Fabio Wardley and that group that he was tied to with the Nathan Gormans and all that stuff. So Atoma right now, man, someone to watch right here. I don't know what's next. I don't know. Maybe I guess they have to step it up a little bit more because Watt was a veteran coming in, and I think it speaks wonders is the fact that Frazier Clark went the distance with him and what Atoma was able to do with him. So, hey, I'm going to be tuned in to Moises Atoma, and if you haven't seen him, folks, be sure to check him out.
Yeah, he's definitely fun to watch, isn't he? I think possibly, Frazier Clark fight might be a natural next step. Whether his team would want that or not, because that's kind of a risky one, isn't it? I guess he's going to be a risk for absolutely anyone. So he actually might have trouble stepping him up and getting some bigger names in with him. But we'll have to just wait and see on that one. Okay, let's move things along. There was a card over in the States last night. I'm not sure if you've seen any of this over in Detroit. It was Clarissa Shields was on in the heavyweight contest, I believe. Do you want to talk us through this one, Josh? You got a stoppage, I believe.
Yes, I was able to catch that. Now, there's a great feat there for Clarissa Shields. What I will say is that I knew that Clarissa was going to win. I knew that she was going to dominate, and I knew that she was actually going to stop her opponent, Joanise. And I didn't expect it to come in the first or second round, but I did expect her to stop her, which is saying a lot considering that Clarissa Shields to this point only has 2 stoppages, and she's been fighting a high level of competition, and it was at lower weights. But with her moving up to heavyweight, one of the things that was pretty apparent is that the heavyweight division on the women's side is just not up to par by comparison to where things stand on the male side. I remember looking in BoxRec, and there were only about 21 active female heavyweights that they had listed there. And Joanise coming in at 7-1, having been stopped in that one loss that she had, I just felt like it was just going to be an entirely different level that she hadn't previously seen in taking on Clarissa Shields, who, while moving up, was still the bigger fighter. Get that, the bigger fighter. Joanise, 5'6", she weighed in at 174.6. Of course, we know Clarissa Shields around 5'9", weighed in at 174.8. And it was going to be apparent. It was just apparent on paper as well. So that was a whole different level of competition. And what I like about what Clarissa Shields did is that she went in and showed that that was the case. When she saw that opportunity for an opening, she just basically steamrolled her, dropped her 3 times before the official stopped it. If the official wouldn't have stopped it, the corner was already on the ring ready to stop it themselves. And Joannese just looked like a deer in the headlights, to say the least, as far as what was coming back to her. So big ups to Clarissa Shields there now. So she's won a world title there at heavyweight, and the WBC, I think, is the only sanctioning body that recognizes it on the women's side, or at least has a title that is of recognition within the heavyweight division on the women's side. They also had one on the light heavyweight side, though I don't believe there's an actual light heavyweight division where there are a number of fighters ranked. But that being said, Clarissa Shields takes the throne in that regard. So from 154 and on up, it's clear that Clarissa Shields is the woman, and she puts in that work in that regard. So ultimately, it's an interesting spot that she's in, because you're probably going to see some retreads as far as the names that she could potentially go against. Now, what would set off the sport even more is if she were able to face some of those names that are just, unfortunately, a couple of weight classes too far down for her as it currently stands. When you think about the Katie Taylors, the Amanda Serranos, Alicia Baumgartners, all of them. And I think that's the only drawback, because Clarissa can get to 154. You have Natasha Jonas there, who isn't necessarily a big 154 pounder by comparison. So that's always going to be the case there. I just think Clarissa is well above the competition, outside of a few that are there within that 160, 168 range that can give her a pretty solid run for her money. But she is the woman, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's continue on that card. I also see, looks like this could be a bit of a shock decision. Ergashev, I'm not going to try and pronounce the first name, lost a split decision against Julian Smith. Can you tell us about that one?
Yeah, that was an interesting one right there. I actually picked Ergashev coming into the contest, but I would say Julian Smith showed that despite only having, I believe, 10 fights coming into it, he had some pretty solid wrinkles to his game from a fundamental standpoint, and I think that's what kind of took Ergashev off, because Smith was solid enough, just quick enough, and skilled enough that some of his punches were catching Ergashev when he wasn't able to see them or wasn't anticipating them, despite Ergashev himself, of course, having an amateur background, being out of Uzbekistan. And we know that there are a lot of guys at that top level who've come out of there. But it was a little bit overwhelming with that kind of sharpness and timing from Julian Smith, who ultimately dropped Ergashev early on in the contest. That wasn't ruled a knockdown. Then he ended up dropping him again, and it was legitimately ruled a knockdown, and won a split decision, I believe is what it ultimately ended up being. But realistically, you could say it probably should have been a unanimous decision, because at the end of the day, if you look at who did more during the contest, no doubt about it, it was Smith who landed the bigger punches, no doubt Smith. And I think that he just showed that he pretty much has arrived, and you can never count someone out, especially just looking at the record alone, because Ergashev, I want to say he's in the 20-something plus fight range. He's probably closer to 30, I would say. Certainly a lot more than Smith, and maybe they thought he was just going to be an opponent to kind of just take him to that next level, but he upset the apple cart in that sense. So I want to see him again. I think he'll create some problems for a number out there who try to mix it up with Smith. So solid performance from him.
Okay, excellent, very good. I can also see on that card Michel Rivera.
Oh yeah.
Against Hugo Roldan. He got there's another split decision, so it looks like a night of close action. Apart from that main event, Clarissa Shields. Did you see this one?
Yeah, I was able to catch that when Rivera got the victory. He actually dropped Rodon in the final round with a nice little right hand where it's almost a pull counter. We kind of pulled back a little bit, caught him with a right hand that sent him down, and that probably won the fight for him right there. In what was otherwise a fight that didn't have many woes or much to cheer about through a lot of moments during it, though the guys or Rodon was coming forward, especially in the early part of the contest. Rivera chose to box, and when Rivera is boxing, trying to taking from Ali, who he models himself after, he looks pretty solid when he does box, and he can be someone that is a little tricky to get to. And I think Rodon just didn't have enough of that, being able to kind of just cut him off and really take it to him in that way. So decent win there for Rivera. Certainly will look good on the resume, especially on paper. And we'll see where he goes from here. He's now operating, I believe this is at 140 pounds. And we know that's a division where there's a lot of good, solid work there. And maybe he puts himself in the mix for one of the bigger names there, Teofimo Lopez or something of that nature. Time will certainly tell. Maybe a Jack Catterall, depending on what happens with him and Regis Prograis. Time will tell for sure. The one loss on Rivera's records, Frank Martin at 135 pounds. We saw Martin was in recently, of course, with Tank Davis. So interesting spot there for Rivera. We'll see where he goes.
Okay. Cool. Nice. Sounds good. All right, let's excuse me, we'll move things along. I've just had a look into what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and there's quite a few cards to to discuss there. We'll cover those after we've done our scoring, which excuse me, we'll come on to next, I think. Yeah, let's do that. Have you got a bit of an introduction for us, Josh? You picked this fight. Hopefully, you can give us some bit of an introduction while I get us set up.
Yes, so essentially we kind of looked at what was in or around the dates that we're currently at, and it just so happens that on April 22nd, 2016, we got to see a WBA super featherweight title matchup when Carl Frampton moved up from super bantamweight to take on Leo Santa Cruz. And ultimately, this meant that he was moving up a division. It was a new division for him, and this was an opportunity at becoming a two-weight world champion. And we'll have to see what the outcome ultimately is. But this went down in the United States on July 30th, that is. So the negotiations had concluded on April 22nd, but on July 30th, 2016, it went down in the United States at the Barclays Center. It's July 28th here today, so we're 2 days away from when this actually happened there back in 2016. And wow is what I guess wow is the operative word, considering that it's been almost that long since this fight took place. And now if you really look at it, Carl Frampton, he's been retired since 2021, which is crazy. And he's only 37, folks, which is, hey, that just shows you just kind of how boxing is at times. But that being said, this was a pretty solidly anticipated fight here. Carl Frampton was going to be going across the pond, as they say, here in the United States to take on Leo Santa Cruz. Both of the fighters coming in with high regard. Both of the fighters coming in undefeated at that particular time. And both of the fighters showing that they had the potential to do something special in this contest. And I'll say Carl Frampton was actually coming off of a win over then undefeated Scott Quigg, which went down in Manchester. Folks remember that. So that's what the contest that Frampton had. An IBF and WBA super bantamweight title was on the line in that contest. So Frampton got a split decision, and then he moved up as mentioned. And then for Leo Santa Cruz, he was coming off of a win over Kiko Martinez, who we saw here in recent times is still bringing about upsets here with some of these younger, fresher boxers. So this was going to be a good contest just from an overall perspective. And we got to see what ultimately I think many are going to consider to be a very solid, very action-based, entertaining fight. And it's only time to see what ultimately transpires.
Let's do it, man. There were some instructions before we got into the fight. There's some instructions in the video description as well over on YouTube. If people are watching there, how you can join in our group and how you can we can see your scores, you can see our scores as we score this fight and all of our other fights that we score on the fight score system. Let's press play. Let's do some forwarding. Looks like we are there. Turn that down a little bit. Turn our music up a little bit.
Some Showtime boxing, which we know no longer chose boxing or combat sports in general. And interestingly enough, the Barclays Center, which we haven't seen as many big fights there as of late, but around this time frame, it was really kind of the hotbed, the hotbed as far as New York was concerned there for a good little period. You know, they were getting majority of the big fights. I know Deontay Wilder was fighting a lot there as well.
Okay. Sounds like quite a good atmosphere. It's very quiet, obviously, but can hear like a kind of the British type of chants going on. I guess Cal Frampton probably took over a good crowd with him.
Yeah, I don't know if any fans travel better than the British fans. So both coming out hot. At least you can see that there's a little bit of tenseness, but they're ready to shake loose.
Yeah, I remember at the time, Santa Cruz was one of my favorite fighters to watch. He had a very easy on the ice style, and Cal Frampton as well. You know, one of our boxers from the mid 2000s onwards.
Yeah, I also recall Santa Cruz had taken a lot of heat there, certainly in the social media world, because people wanted to see him in with more formidable opponents there, as he had the title during that stretch.
Just put a link into the chat if you want to click on that. I'll take you to where you can score this fight.
Yes, feel free to join us, folks. So yeah, we appreciate everyone who is tuning in, those that'll be tuning in on the replay. And of course, if you do it on the replay as well, you can continue to score, and that will be added to the system.
It will, yeah. And any fight you score, this one or any future fights that you might want to score, if you're a registered member and you are joined our group, your scores will always be involved in the stats and statistics for that group. You'll also be contributing to the overall analysis of each fight, which is over on the website, fight-score.com/analysis. Lots of in-depth stats and charts for you to enjoy.
Indeed. And hey, this is a pretty solid first round there. Leo Santa Cruz came out. He was the aggressor for, I guess, the majority of it. But you could see Carl Frampton looping in that overhand right. And that's something I guess Leo will have to watch for the entirety of the fight.
Yeah, I think that was a good round for Santa Cruz. I think he started off better. Carl Frampton was coming into it more towards the end, but gave the edge to Santa Cruz.
Wanted to mention that as far as the measurables are concerned, of course, Carl Frampton is 5'5". Leo Santa Cruz 5'7.5". 69-inch reach for Leo Santa Cruz, 65 for Carl Frampton. But as we've seen, if you followed his career, hey, he's been able to maximize every bit of that reach and overall size.
Mm-hmm. So round 2. Oh, this is some nice action.
Yeah, pretty solid exchanges here. And Leo Santa Cruz, he must have heard the cries, and he's intent on being a more aggressive fighter at this particular juncture, because he's really coming out gunning for Carl Frampton, who, as you can see, is pretty poised.
Yeah, it was pretty big puncher, Carl Frampton, for the weight, if I remember rightly, especially earlier on in his career anyway.
Yeah, certainly not afraid to exchange.
Yes, it's some good action here.
It is. Both guys having success at this point. You can see Frampton's like, you know what? If you're going to come out that way, I'm going to start slinging these heavy shots as well. You can see that right hand doing some work.
Like a few got through there for Frampton into the second half of this round now. They both had success in that first half, so you know this is still up for grabs, definitely.
Yeah, yep. And Frampton, when he's thrown some of those right hooks and lefts, he's found the right distance to be able to get them off, despite giving up that reach.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Nice left hook slipped in there from Carl Frampton. Seemed to stagger Leo Santa Cruz. We'll have to see. Maybe they show in the replay if it was a very solid shot or glancing shot, but certainly nice on the eye if you're a judge. And mixing in the body work, I would say certainly nice work from both guys. But yeah, Carl Frampton certainly in this round has been able to find that punch. Some good countering.
Yeah, pretty even round overall. But you know, obviously the thing that sticks out is he was staggered. Recovered well, but he was staggered. You definitely caught him on towards the back of the head, and his legs kind of slipped a bit. I don't think he was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, looked like caught him right on the top. Yeah. Yeah.
And his legs flailed a bit under him. It was definitely more of a slip at that stage, but recovered quite quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, it landed at at the right time as he was getting turned up a bit. So solid.
Oh no, what have I done? Done something.
So, pretty even stuff thus far. And stylistically, you tend to like these types of fights. This is a situation where, as we can see, Leo Santa Cruz had taken the lead as far as coming forward, being on the front foot, and you're getting to see some effective counter punching from Carl Frampton. But of course, when they do have some exchanges, Frampton certainly isn't shy in getting off his shots. I would say thus far in the fight, kind of the better jab work has come from Leo Santa Cruz. We've seen a little bit from Frampton, not as much. But that being said, we'll see how things seem to shake up.
Yeah, it was one of Leo Santa Cruz's more effective weapons, the jab. He was, pretty tall, wasn't he, for the weight?
Yeah.
Frampton's always been pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much heavily reliant on effective counter punching. That was a nice uppercut that landed in there.
Yeah.
But Santa Cruz didn't let that affect him whatsoever. Straight back at him.
Certainly.
That Mexican spirit.
And I do like that. I see that Frampton, I think I alluded to it, he just has this way about him of being able to get off his punches and then step back to that right distance where he's not leaving himself as susceptible to an exchange or return fire, essentially.
Coming up to the last 20 seconds.
Nice overhand right, slipped in a little bit earlier from Frampton. Nice. Good body work. All right, solid stuff right there.
Let's get those scores in.
Okay, depends on what one is looking at. There could be those that favor the aggression of Leo Santa Cruz, and there could be those that favor the counterpunching of Carl Frampton.
Mm-hmm.
That was a nice shot.
It was.
Of course, we get the beauty of the replay when you're there real time. Of course, you don't get that option.
The earlier days of Frampton's career before it went sour with McGuigan.
Mm. Round 4, and you can see that this is a pretty solid pace, a little faster pace, but these two seem to be able to handle it pretty well thus far. And Leo Santa Cruz, high volume puncher, I would say for the majority of his career. Frampton working his way to being able to match that effectively.
Oof. Big swings and misses there.
Would you consider this the biggest fight for the two of them as far as where they were at this particular point in their career? Though I know Scott Quigg at one point, he did have a lot of fanfare behind him.
Yeah, I think this was definitely a step up from Quigg for Frampton, yeah. Yeah, I'd imagine so. Like you said, this was a step up in weight, wasn't it, for Frampton? He kind of accomplished quite a bit down at whatever the previous weight was. So yeah, definitely would have been his biggest step up. And I assume for Santa Cruz, I think you alluded to it earlier, didn't you, that people wanted him to be in with bigger names or whatnot. So I'd imagine at this point for both of them, yeah, it was definitely the biggest. obviously Santa Cruz went on to like quite a few other bigger fights, didn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, certainly. And of course, if you haven't noticed, Cruz is certainly the type when he's hurt, he wants to fight fire with fire. So anytime Frampton does land something big, Cruz is looking to get right back there on the front foot and charge in. We're seeing a bit of leading here from Carl Frampton in this particular round.
Definitely pushing it, isn't he? Pushing the action a bit.
Yes.
Quite like.
Finding success at that.
Looks like Santa Cruz's face is reddening up a bit.
Oh, yes. Ooh. Two nice left hooks right there from Carl Frampton.
Oof. Nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Nice way to close it. You can say that it seems, and I'm not trying to sway the others, it seems that some of that clean work is certainly on the side of Carl Frampton visually.
I would go along with that. Okay, I'll take a pause in a second. We'll just take a look at our scores. I'll just get my score in first. Put it the right way around. Okay, the score is in. I need to swap things out for a second. That's too big. I just need to get our scores in place. That one. Hopefully that works.
So far, so good. This is, as expected, been pretty exciting contest thus far, where both guys are really bringing it on the offensive end.
Looks like we have the same scores. We've probably got the same round scores as well, to be fair. Let's see if this works. Hopefully it does. No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't work. Go back. Let's do the combined score. Oh no, not enough data. Okay, we can't compare scores, unfortunately. I'll be able to fix that at some point. Anyway, we can see we got 37-39. If I just go through my scores, so I gave the first round to Santa Cruz, and then the last three all went to Frampton. I assume that was what yours would say as well?
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page thus far. We saw Cruz come out storming, of course, and got the lead there in the first, but Carl Frampton has seemingly taken the momentum and taken control more so here over the last three rounds. And I think that a lot of that is the cleaner punching that was mentioned. Shout out to Melissa Ty, who dropped by. Hello there, Melissa.
Yeah, hello, Melissa. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you're enjoying this fight along with us. And if you've got a scorecard handy, feel free to score along.
We have to get you signed up. Some good exchanges from both of these guys. Just a little bit more coming from Carl Frampton, especially in that round.
Yeah, I agree.
But hey, Leo's in there.
I think I might have fixed that issue, hopefully.
All right, we're already in round 5. And yeah, hey, the pace hasn't slowed.
It feels like Frampton looks like he's kind of found his rhythm a bit in there, hasn't he? And
yes.
Santa Cruz looking to make some adjustment.
And it's cool to see kind of that tactical side. You see both of them jockeying for footwork.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say Frampton is winning the battle. We see a little bit more effort trying to be exerted from Leo Santa Cruz, and I think that's because Frampton has the distance down right now.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, first round, Cruz seemed to be the one finding the centre of the ring, coming forward, pushing forward, and then it's turned around a bit now, hasn't it? It's more Frampton.
Oh, yes.
He's more edging forward. Santa Cruz seemingly want to keep that distance, probably wants to just be jabbing Frampton's head off, but...
And this is when the thing comes into fold, when we're talking adjustments, game plans, the corners, what they're doing, what they're seeing. This is where that truly comes into the fold right here, because we've seen that Frampton has been able to gain the momentum over the last 3 rounds. What can Leo Santa Cruz switch up, change, or do a little bit better to be able to cease that somewhat to get himself back into the contest?
Last minute of this one. This seems to have been a bit of a quieter round. Less punches thrown, a bit more cagey.
Yeah. And I would say that, the distance seems to be working in Frampton's favor, and despite being the shorter fighter, just with how he throws his punches, this is working in his favor. Leo Santa Cruz probably going to find a bit more success if he's able to get in there and draw Frampton into some of those exchanges that has them throwing a ton of punches.
Yeah, it's probably a bit of a dangerous move to try and engage in a firefight, because, like we said, Frampton was a decent puncher, but that's probably a good strategy for Santa Cruz, because this kind of keeping distance and trying to win on the jabs just isn't working at the moment.
Oh yeah, and you can see that he is forcing them to think in there, no question. But another solid round right there for Carl Frampton, as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. For those of you watching along, let us know who you think won the rounds. Even if you're not creating the scorecard, you put up in the chat who won that round.
If I'm in Leo Santa Cruz's corner, I'm trying to really pitch it to him of finding a way to make it a little less comfortable for Carl Frampton, because I feel like if he can sit there at this distance, then this is easy money all day for him. Of course, the fighter has to go in and, of course, make that happen. He has to execute. So he's got to look for those opportunities, look for those traps, look for ways to be able to break that distance and find success for himself. I like that he hasn't neglected the jab as of yet. You just want to see a little bit more coming after it.
Subjective factor that's going to come into this fight.
Nice.
Okay, a bit more action in this round already than the previous one. Yeah,
good shot getting in there from Leo Santa Cruz. This is what he wants right here.
Yeah, definitely more successful with this.
Those right hooks landing, hit them at the top of the head there, catching them, or high on the head.
Yeah, he's got to be more willing to do this, hasn't he? Take a few to land a few. I think he's had the better of that little exchange, Leo Santa Cruz.
Oh, yes. Certainly.
Frampton's still there. It's not going away, but Santa Cruz thrown more, landed more.
That is true. But at this range, Frampton, he's willing to exchange with hooks himself. And Hey, like that. Beneficial for the fans for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the previous round was a little bit lacking, you'd say, in action. This is way better. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
We're seeing a bit more aggressive Leo Santa Cruz coming out this round, at least the way he started the first portion of this round, first half.
Yeah, he's definitely more effective that way.
Yeah, and that's essentially how he came out in that first round. So maybe the formula is kind of getting back to a little bit more of that.
Oh, that was nice.
Oh my.
Nice exchange. Oh, he's
bringing it.
Yeah, he's landing some very clean shots on Frampton there. Done well.
Yes. Those combinations get to flow, and he's able to slip in a mix of hooks and uppercuts that do land pretty clean. And if you're Frampton's corner, yeah, you probably don't want him exchanging in that fashion, considering the success he has there at the mid range. But of course, you know, fire's coming. Sometimes you have to fire back.
Yeah,
I would say solid round right there from Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah, it's definitely his best round of the fight so far.
Yes, indeed. Realistically, his best round is coming as what could be considered the second half of the contest, as we're heading at least there to the second half. And yeah, that is his best round.
This was a nice shot as they were turning away. That was a good shot. He landed a few more as well.
Oh yeah, some of those getting in, some of them not. But when you're at that normal speed, of course, the volume that does show. All right, Cruz again coming back out aggressive on the front foot. Certainly not the type of fighter that you would be accustomed to seeing kind of moving backwards as he was there for some of those previous rounds. So looks like they've gotten something in his head to remind him of, okay, what got him to this point.
Yeah, I think it started off quite well, Cal Frampton.
Oh yeah.
Santa Cruz, like you say, is trying to get that to that close distance, isn't he? Frampton's been a little bit more caging, backing off a bit, trying to make that space again. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Santa Cruz definitely looking to come forward now and close that gap, isn't he? He liked that success of the last round.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of this fight has primarily been operating from within the middle of the ring or just right around the edges. You haven't seen a lot of tying up, them getting tied up on the ropes or anything of that nature, which you gotta love. Testament to both fighters.
Santa Cruz missing here. Drive Frampton back, and that's the difference between throwing one punch and throwing two.
You see Frampton. So when Frampton is using that lead hand, working with that jab, or at least posturing with it, that helps him. That does stall Santa Cruz a little bit.
That second punch might gobble up the count.
Oh, nice.
Nice right.
Last 30 seconds of the round.
Yeah, fairly even one thus far.
Yeah, pretty even. I think I'm edging towards Frampton. I think he's.
Yeah, Cruz started out hot, but nice left hook slipped in there.
Yeah, nice bit at the end there for Santa Cruz, but probably a little bit too late, I think, to win the round, for me at least.
Yeah, very interesting one for sure.
Pretty close, pretty close.
Santa Cruz, good right hand, and the left hook.
Yeah, now we're really diving into that back end of the contest, so gonna see things like attrition kick in, and it's how these fighters handle it mentally, not shift from what ultimately is their game plan.
Happy to have him here this week. Quicken on the other side, trying to coach. One great Irish fighter watching another one. As we start round 8,
it's round 8.
Jose, the father of Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah, it's been fought at a pretty solid pace, as mentioned. And usually, when these lower weights, these guys they can really bring it for the duration of a fight.
Leo Santa Cruz said that without my father there, I didn't feel like I had that teacher type discipline. But his father made enough of a comeback in the last week or so.
Nice.
Undergoing treatment.
Nice counter punching by Frampton.
Oh yes.
But this is where Santa Cruz wants to be.
Oh yes, certainly. Working the body, both of them. Well, yeah, you can see Santa Cruz is loving it. Right there in the pocket.
Yeah, it's grueling, but that's where he wants to be. Just got to take a few shots to land his ones. That's a good shot. Nice body work.
Yeah, these are some good hooks to the body that Santa Cruz is landing. Good investment for sure.
As well as his own power chances.
Yes. He's definitely looking more comfortable there now. Walking Frampton down, coming forward, closing that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Frampton not being as effective as earlier in the fight when he was countering those kinds of shots. He's not doing so as much. But like I say, later rounds he's probably getting a bit tired.
Yeah, and then neither of these guys are tying up.
Yes, it's continuous, isn't it? There's no rest.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one too.
Combination there.
Oh, a couple more got in there as well.
Oh yeah, when Frampton finds that distance in exchanges, it's a beautiful sight for sure.
When he's doing this, he is most effective. Is Santa Cruz. So these two developments.
Good action.
You see the best and worst of it from the Santa Cruz perspective.
It's apparent that the overall volume is going to be on the side of Santa Cruz, but then think about that effectiveness of what is landing.
Oh shit! Sorry, I just accidentally clicked to the end, to the start of round 8. I'll just go back.
Good to go.
We're about there, weren't we? I think.
Yeah.
Two developments. You see the best and worst of it from the Santa Cruz.
Fighters giving the fans a show right here.
Boxed effectively outside. Put himself in the corner.
Oh, that was nice. Nice little uppercut.
Santa Cruz slowed down a bit here.
And I think this is the closest round of the fight.
Oh yeah,
Both
very
had,
interesting one.
both had success. Santa Cruz
Very
in the first half. Frampton finished it very well. Yeah, it's a tough one. And try not to be swayed by the replay.
Always good. Frampton on the inside, left hook. And then
Let's get those scores in, round 8.
Left hook to the body. Here comes Frampton. He went low because of the defense.
We'll do a pause as well there, 42.06. I'm going to refresh this page and see if I fixed our compare feature.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one for sure. Must say.
Okay, get that score in there. The second. Just going to refresh.
Once again, thank you to all the viewers who are here with us. We can see you here on this back end in terms of the overall numbers, but yeah, thank you. Appreciate you dropping in, showing some support. Hey, feel free to drop in and create a card if you need, or if need be, you want to get into the action. Pretty fun thing.
Look at this, man. We have a result. I fixed it. Okay, excellent. All right, well, let's go from round 4. Well, just to confirm, yeah, so as we said earlier, we had the same scores for those first 4 rounds. Different percentages and reasons, essentially. There we go. From round 5, we have Frampton. Both of us scoring out for Frampton. Round 6, we both went for Santa Cruz. And interestingly, round 7, we had a difference of opinion. I went for Frampton and you went Santa Cruz. And then that last round, we both edged it to Santa Cruz by the looks of it. And I was this far away from giving it to Frampton, but
slight edge there.
Your additional comment there, a little more work from Santa Cruz. That is what was the case, to be fair. So there you go. We've got some different scores then now, haven't we? So I've got 77-75 Frampton. You've got it an even round, an even fight. Sorry, 4 rounds each. Interesting. All right, cool.
Yes, indeed.
Let's keep this going. Oh, is this gonna? What did I say? 42. 42, I think it was.
Yeah, and as mentioned, it has been an exciting fight, and a lot of good exchanges from both of these guys. And hey, you gotta love those that are pretty nip and tuck, tight and close. So you never know what is going to be that deciding factor that sways one judge one way versus the other.
Santa Cruz 32-0. Frampton 22-0.
Okay.
All right. That's probably like one of the first times they gotten tied up right there throughout the entire fight.
First bit of ref interference. That was a nice shot there. Frampton through. Rots Santa Cruz's head back. Yeah, this is a bit better from Santa Cruz. Just pushing it, isn't he? Pushing the action up, coming forward. What he needs to do is not let Frampton set, because that's when he's most effective. He can find that counter shot if he's given enough time.
It's a risk you're taking, because some of those misses are some big misses there from Santa Cruz. But he's intent on getting to Frampton, so that's a calculated risk, I'd say.
Nice exchange of fire. I think Frampton might have landed a few more in there than Santa Cruz did.
would close the distance with a feint,
All right.
but then unable to get to Leo Santa Cruz.
Frampton looking a bit more fluid right now. Looks like Santa Cruz, hey, maybe slow down a little bit.
Caught him nicely there, though.
At least he's getting that second win. Oh, well, just as I say that.
Yeah, some glancing blows there, nothing too serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just see now that Santa Cruz is allowing to be put on the back foot instead of coming forward and getting into that comfort zone where he's had a few effective rounds.
Yeah, you can pretty much see that shift. You can visibly see that shift. So, good point.
Last few seconds of that one.
And that's got to lean more in the favor of Carl Frampton. One would think, at least.
Frampton slips the jab, lands the left hook.
Lands, gets out of the way. Nicely done.
Textbook way to do it. Santa Cruz having his moment. Nice right hand into the eye. Keeping it at a distance.
All right. I like right here.
All right, round 10.
Fifth round, folks.
10th round underway.
They're still pretty close. So looks like this one is the type that might go down to the wire.
Yeah, it's been a good contest. Well matched.
Oh yeah.
Well matched in terms of the caliber of fighters, but also the styles as well.
Yes, yeah.
Gels.
This is what we love to see right here. More of this, less of those blowouts.
For those following Santa Cruz. It's been Frampton's house.
Nice little exchange.
Yeah. The little left landed there by Frampton to close it out. And we got Leo working back behind the jab. That's
nice little uppercut there, yeah.
Setting the tone with that here.
But again, he's not closing that distance, is he? He's not on the front foot. Frampton's all coming forward.
It's almost he's just kind of using it to seemingly keep Frampton off of him right now. And this is where Frampton was at in those earlier rounds when he was pretty much sweeping them.
Yeah, he
was
racking up the points there, wasn't he? That's a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Boxing gets spillovers from the other European sports.
I wonder if maybe, hey, all of those punches, that volume, maybe Leo Santa Cruz is trying to, get a little bit more fuel back in those legs, back in those arms, etc.
Yeah, might be conserving some energy for the last couple of rounds as well. Another tie up. What's going on there?
Yeah. But we see Frampton working off that front foot. Hey, and he's successful when he does it.
A little bit better there by Santa Cruz, but he's come way too late now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, some resistance in there, but right. Is that enough? Seemingly not. All right.
Santa Cruz with the jab. Blocks the one shot that lands two of his own. Good athleticism on the inside. Adjusting.
That's 10 down. Into the championship rounds we go.
Uppercut by
Yes, indeed. Championship rounds.
left hook.
This is where the titles are won and lost right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd imagine Leo Santa Cruz's corner is telling him, you can't sit back. You can't sit back there and act as though you're the counterpuncher. That's not your forte right now. So you need to come back out, push Carl Frampton back again.
Yeah. It's clear as day, you know, the rounds, he wins the rounds when he's literally doing this on the front foot, closing that gap. And when he doesn't do that, he loses the round.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Keep his championship and his unbeaten record.
We have referee Harvey Dock.
His debut at 126 has looked good.
Oh, that's a nice shot.
Right there.
Santa Cruz found the room.
Yeah, we said it all along. This is where it needs to be. Close the gap.
Body shot.
Oh, yes.
Take a few, but then get off your own shots and he's landing them.
Yeah. He's getting it back into one of those inside exchange type fights right now.
Mm-hmm.
The body by Santa Cruz. Is not using the jab to accentuate his reach.
And Frampton got a lot of heart. He's not giving in. He's not backing down.
No.
Probably
He's always
doesn't
been a tough.
him, but he's like, I'm going to exchange regardless.
He's out of harm's way, and then he can load up, get the most on that power shot.
Mhm.
Good hook by Santa Cruz.
There we go. Another interference.
There's a lot of punches at this juncture of the fight. These boys are still throwing.
Yeah, they've not slowed down, have they? It's good to
Not
see.
at all.
Jabs in a row by Santa Cruz. Only two got in, but the point was that Frampton had to react to those other three.
A minute to go.
The offense of his own.
Hmm.
That's one
Carl with a little leaping lip.
of a significant reach.
You see, oh, that was a great counter, to be fair, by Santa Cruz. I was just about to say that he seems to have stepped off from closing that gap now, and Frampton's starting to have some success, but he's just had a couple of nice combinations, Santa Cruz, so that was nice. He just needs to keep on the pace a bit, I think, not let Frampton steal around.
Yeah, you can do that. Definitely outwork him. Got to maintain that.
Frampton in this round more than what he actually did offensively.
Yeah, nice.
Good work from both of these guys for sure.
Definitely, you know, it's
Must
still
say.
pretty close round. Pretty close round.
Yeah. Yeah, these are definitely some close rounds here on the back end, and it's like, not a ton separating them in some of these rounds. You know,
Santa Cruz landing good jab.
not to just look for those little intricacies.
Best punches of the fight. And then
Last round, so I've got. Actually, I thought I had it closer, but
Santa Cruz partially blocked
yeah,
the jab.
I've got a Frampton
The right hand.
with quite a handy lead, so
Exchange.
Santa Cruz needs a stoppage on my card.
Oh wow!
Plenty of knockdowns.
Right hand.
Well, I'll save the suspense.
Mm-hmm.
And
But yeah, very interesting for sure.
So with that in mind, how would the corner have said to Santa Cruz? Are they saying you need to get this guy out of there?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question right there.
I mean, it looks like he's come out busy.
Yeah, he has.
Full steam ahead.
So. Maybe he understands that. He understands the implications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is pretty busy. Hey, Frampton's not backing down. 12th round, folks, right here. 12th and final round. You see how they're going at it? Both won it.
And part of the reason for this, besides the expertise of Santa Cruz, is a slight slowdown.
Yeah, Frampton finding that distance again. Nice.
So he's walking straight into Santa Cruz's best shots.
Oh, nice. Santa Cruz doing some nice timing work. Well, that's nice.
And maybe Frampton's corner is saying, hey, you know, you came over here to the U.S. and you need to close this thing out the right way as well.
Yeah, true.
No expectations of gaining a decision victory.
Oh, it's a great finish. Great action.
It is. Some solid exchanges. Yeah, you can just tell both of these guys want this thing for sure. So maybe, yeah, both of the corners are probably telling them the right things.
Fans starting to stand up. Last 45 seconds.
Wow. Bravo to both of these guys.
Last 10 seconds. Not fair play. Just still
Neither
swinging.
sitting on their laurels. They're just like, yeah, we're bringing this thing all the way to the end. Let's go.
That's how it should be. Great action. Great action.
Some of you guys think they can afford to give away that final round. You never know.
Very close round again. Very close.
Indeed.
Yeah, my overall winning margin percentage is so close, 52 to 48 nearly.
So okay, yeah.
Well, very close rounds throughout.
Around the same thing. But I do have mine pretty thin for sure.
Well, we'll come into that in a minute. We'll wait for these. Well, I'll forward the video on in a second.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll do some comparisons.
Santa Cruz says, "Oh, I got it." Frampton. Very strong beginning.
Okay, let's skip this ahead so we get the readouts.
The fight corners. Santa Cruz's, I think, difference in the end and 1 round cut. But it a side fight inside.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action here at Barclays Center, we go to the scorecards. Judge at ringside, Guido Cavalieri, scores the bout 114 to 114, even a draw.
Okay.
Overruled by judges Frank Lombardi, scoring the bout 116 to 112, and Tom Schreck seeing it 117 to 111.
Wow, that's wide.
In favor of the winner by majority decision, and the new WBA featherweight champion of the world, the great Irish champion.
Wow. Got to give it to them. Hey, both of these guys brought it. Both of them wanted it. And, hey, the judges made the right decision as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let's take a look, in fact.
Take a look.
Let's reload. You can see scores at the top there. Overall scores. We'll scroll down in a moment, but looks like we came to an agreement in the end. We might have got there slightly differently, but 113, 115, very close fight. Both gave that to Frampton. Let's go down to round 8 and go through round 9 to the end. So we gave round 9, both gave that to Frampton on the front foot, same reason, different percentages. We both went Frampton with round 10 as well. And then, looks like we have a difference of opinion there. So round 11, Santa Cruz, both of us. And then in that last round, we went different ways. I gave that one to Santa Cruz. And you went with Frampton, both same reason. So that's how that can sometimes work. Interesting. So we had one exact same round. So score, percentage, and reason. Very nice. 1 out of 12. We had the same matching scores in 10 out of the 12 rounds. 83%, not too bad. And we had matching reasons in 3 of the rounds. Just some interesting stats and facts for you there on our scorecard comparison. So there we go. Good decision. I didn't like them scores, to be honest. I thought there was too wide, both of the ones that went in his favour.
I agree. 117, 111, certainly.
That seems too wide, doesn't it? You can you've got a case for 160,
that could be
12, because that's
one round difference
one
right
round
there.
Difference, yeah.
Interesting. But it's good to see here on Fight Night Scores kind of how certain rounds end up landing for a different judge or a different view, because it could be just 1 or 2 little small things, but ultimately we ended up with the same score, but just some differences there from a round by round perspective. So very interesting being able to break that down.
Yeah. It would be quite interesting to if we was able to get the actual judges round by round scores and see how that broke down. But maybe that's something I'll look to if we can find that, and I can put some stuff out on the socials in regards to that and how it compares to what our scores were. Anyway, that was really fun, really good fight. Hopefully, if you joined us live or if you join us after the fact, you enjoyed that fight as well. And there will be more of these in the future. We'll have a look through the history books and come up with some more close, competitive, good fights. For us all to enjoy and score along with each other. So definitely check out the channel, like the video, subscribe, do all of that good stuff for us. That'll help us. And keep an eye out for what's coming up in the not too distant future. With that said, let's also look at what's coming up in the not too distant future. We'll cover some fights that are coming up for the next 15-20 minutes or so before we bring this show to an end. I will actually, what shall I get up? I'll get up another window.
Oh yeah, and real quick, I wanted to mention just in regards to the Frampton Santa Cruz fight, it ended up being the case where, hold on, let me pull up my statistics right here. From a fight statistics standpoint, so you had 242 punches landed for Carl Frampton out of 668 for a 36% clip, compared to Santa Cruz, who landed more, actually, according to CompuBox, with 255, but he threw 1,002 punches, so his percentage was 25. So that 36%, 25% difference, when we talk about some of the clean punching that went into things. So that can certainly make a difference right there and maybe sway some things.
All right, interesting. Very cool. Okay, let's wrap that up. Let's move things along. I just seen there in the chat, Buzz has turned up.
Cheers, there, boss.
Nice to see you, Boz. I am late, sorry. Don't worry about it. You've missed the fight, but you can always watch and catch up.
That was a good one.
And hopefully you can join us for the next one that we do. We miss your scorecard, obviously. Salute to you, Boz. Thanks for stopping by, mate. Right, let's move it along. I will stop sharing that one and go share something else instead. What do I do? Stop. Present. Let's get Boxrec open. And it is this one, I believe. Here we go. We can't see that very well.
All right, the upcoming action.
See if I can remove bookmarks. Yeah, that'll help a little bit. Right, okay. We can just briefly have a quick look over this because it's not been too exciting. It's Saturday, 3rd of August at Barnsley's football ground. Who'd have thought? Looks like the possible headline might be Caroline Dubois.
Yeah.
In the title fight against Mary Monio. Have you got any ideas about this opponent that you can share with us?
Doesn't ring a bell. Maria Monio. Let me see here. Who's she?
Uruguay. 14 wins, 3 stoppages. She looks like she's only fought in Uruguay or Argentina.
Oh, yeah.
Uruguay.
Yeah, largely. So this is her first fight outside of Argentina or Uruguay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know that I've seen her. Of course, I'm a fan of Caroline Dubois. I think she brings it and is an exciting fighter to watch just in general and stylistically. Yeah, I just love what she brings to the table, as mentioned. And anytime she laces them up, and I want to try to attend and watch. This is at 135, which is still a division with a lot of good competition there. A dream fight that maybe or maybe not can happen, but maybe, depending on how the weights and things shake up, would certainly be Caroline Dubois versus Gabriela Fundora, because that's just going to be all offense right there. So, but that's just wishful thinking right now, considering they're operating multiple divisions apart at the moment. But Caroline Dubois, hey, steadily inching her way up. So WBC interim world lightweight title on the line, in addition to the IBO. I can't remember who the WBC champion was last at one. I believe it might have been Alicia Baumgartner. That was, or was that 130? I could be thinking 130. It might have been 130, but we know that Katie Taylor has moved up to 140 for the most part. So opportunities there at 135 for sure.
Yep. All right. I assume that you're going to pick Caroline Dubois to win that one.
Yes, I'm going to go with her for sure. I just feel like, she just seems to have that kind of it factor, and she should be pretty solid, I suppose, when she steps in there. Then that McKenna Laws fight should be an interesting one right there.
Yeah. Can have a word on that one. Stephen McKenna, 14-0, 13 stoppages, good record from Ireland. 27 years old. I think he's been going along, quite nice. Beat Darren Tetley last one. Well, that's not a bad win. So yeah, it looks like he's been on quite a few undercards.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, that was probably on a Chris Billen-Smith one. What event would that have been? Adam Mazine, Tyler Denny, Brad Pauls, Vidal Riley.
Oh yeah, Vidal Riley.
Yeah. So one of the guys that's coming up on the undercards, and is looking to improve. Joe Laws is a pretty decent opponent. I guess it's a step up for him.
Yeah, I remember. I remember from the Ryan Charlton fight, or Carlton, what is his name? Ryan.
Ryan
who was pretty solid. Started out pretty solid, and the guy who packs a little bit of a punch there to him, Ryan or Ryland. Yeah,
he was a little pocket rocket, wasn't he? Quite a big hitter, and then I think he had a couple of losses back to back. I think.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad on that undercard, and then we also got Zach Shelly.
Simpson. We got a British super middleweight title on the line. Okay. Yeah, this should be an interesting one as well here. Super middleweight. Oh yeah, he has a win over Jack Cullen. Little Lever's meat cleaver right there.
Yeah, that was a really good win to kind of get him back after he suffered this loss to Matt Jeffers, I think. Yeah, they were both undefeated.
Anthony Sims Jr. I see he has a win over him as well.
Yeah.
And Anthony Sims Jr. is someone who I liked when I first saw him. He just has that look to him, but certainly hadn't been able to really translate that as the competition stepped up. But Anthony Sims Jr., that's a solid victory right there for sure.
Yeah. So he's got himself back after the last couple of wins. Again, this is another decent domestic fight. Who's he been in with? He's from Barnsley, so maybe it is a bit of a homecoming for him. Maybe, who knows?
Oh yeah.
No real big names of note on there, I don't think. But yeah, a good domestic level.
Certainly worth checking out. I'm going to try to catch that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue. We've got 3 more events to cover. So that same night, 3rd of August, we are over in LA, yeah, for Top Rank. Well, actually, there's loads of stuff going on here. Top Rank and Matchroom and TGB, whatever. It's Terence Crawford, everyone's favourite welterweight or super welterweight now by the looks of things. He's in with Israel Madrimov, 10-0-1. Who's he beaten of late?
Yeah.
Kurbinov.
Heck of an overall card in general. Yeah, Israel Madrimov.
Yeah, so let's work our way through these then. We'll start off at the top. Obviously, Terence Crawford, probably the biggest, one of the biggest names around at the moment in world boxing. You expecting him to win this? Is stepping up a weight by the looks of it? Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, he is stepping up. And hey, folks, do not sleep on Israel Madrimov. He's a very, very solid boxer with some good experience, both on the amateur side and, of course, his trajectory here in the pro ranks. He's had some decent wins that are under his belt. You see, he has Michael Soro there. Michael Soro, solid fighter out of France there. And Israel Madrimov has a win over him in a draw. But that being said, Madrimov, he's one of those guys. He has pretty solid footwork. Of course, he can mix it up punch-wise, some decent power or pop to him as well, just from an overall standpoint. So he is not one to be slept on. But, of course, we know that Terence Crawford certainly is one of the top 2 or 3 fighters in the world at the moment. And by many people's estimation, the top guy indeed. And I'm sure that he's approaching this with the utmost intensity and respect to the game in itself. So I'm sure with the fact that he is moving up here, he is going about it the right way in terms of getting to that 154 pound. So this should be a very, very solid contest. And I know that, as Boz mentioned there, to make an upset or perhaps make Bud work harder, yeah, that's certainly the thinking of some others as well. 36-year-old Crawford going up against a young gun who realistically should be in his prime. So it won't be just a cakewalk for Terence Crawford. He's going to have to work to get this victory as far as I'm concerned. Now, I do lean slightly in favor of Terence Crawford to pick up a decision over Madrimov. And I think that will come down just to his overall skill set, intensity, and Madrimov. He is top tier, I believe, as stated, but he has in the past found himself where he was essentially, you could say, kind of maybe not going at it in the way that he probably should, with that level of intensity he probably should. And I think that is kind of what showed in the Michael Soro fight. But that being said, I think this is a very good contest. And I do lean Terence Crawford to pick up a decision, but the fans should get a very good contest, very good main event for sure.
Yeah, I'd go along with picking Terence Crawford as well. I think he will get the win, probably points victory, fairly handily, I guess. But yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see what he does, like kind of going forward for Crawford. Obviously, I don't want to overlook this one, but new weight class. I was just going to have a quick look, actually. I know the ratings aren't all that great, but we just get an idea of who's in.
Yeah, we know the man at one point was Jamel Crawford. It looks like that's done and over with. So, or Jamel Charlo, rather. So that's done and over with. So it's pretty much wide open right there as far as those who can make their run. I think many probably still regard Tim Zhu as the guy as well. Sebastian Fendora's there, and he's going to eventually be fighting Errol Spence, though that fight was postponed. That Virgil Ortiz operating at 154 now. He would make for a very good and interesting fight with anyone, just given his ability to get opponents out of there. So this is wide open right now, but yeah, Ortiz and Boychuk are going to be going at it. So that should be a good contest that's going to come eventually down the road as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, there's plenty of decent names up there, isn't there? I guess Crawford to work his way through. Should he be victorious on the 3rd, on that Saturday? Let's continue moving down this card. David Morrell's on there, undefeated, 10-0 against someone whose names I'm not going to try and pronounce.
Certainly, I can get the last one. Radivoj Kalajic is certainly the last name, and he's a nice, long, lean fighter. I don't know how it compares to Morrell, who is a big guy as well, but yeah, Kalajic, man, solid guy. He's worthy of this matchup in terms of the potential and opportunity. As you can see, he did stop Sullivan Barrera, though, of course, this is a back-end Sullivan Barrera. I believe that was on Pro Box, as a matter of fact. But he's got some good names on the resume there. Some guys who have done some things in the sport at different times. You see, he's been in there with Arthur Beterbiev, Marcus Brown, those two losses. But
they're two top tier guys, aren't they? So that's not
right. So Kalajic, hey, he's been around the block. So certainly, it's not just a walkover type of opponent there for Morrell. And Morrell is moving up to 175. That being said, Morrell, man, he's looked so good in all of the opportunities he's had previously that you have the feeling that adding these extra pounds here at 175, that's not going to be too far of a stretch for him, because he's so fundamentally sound that I still think that he's the guy that you're definitely just going to have to watch regardless. So I would certainly favor Morrell in this contest, despite moving up, taking on the likes of a Kalajic. That being said, David Morrell, man, he just seems to have the goods. When you think about those total package type fighters, he has seemingly the makings of everything you need. We just need to see him in there with the competition to bring all of that out.
Yep. All right, great. Let's keep moving along. Isaac Cruz also in action. Pitbull. Great.
Pitbull Cruz, little mini Mike Tyson there. So WBA's World Super Lightweight Championship on the line. Of course, Jose Valenzuela, he knows how to put guys to sleep as well. He did so to Chris Colbert here recently. So, hey, he's one to watch right here. This is actually a pretty solid fight, and some would argue it could go either way realistically. The length is going to be on the side of Valenzuela, but, dealing with a taller fighter is something that, of course, Pitbull Cruz is used to. And this is a very interesting fight. It has the makings of a pretty exciting contest. This card is pretty stacked and crazy. This could be the most exciting one on the card, realistically. You never know. But yeah, just an interesting one. A hard one to call, realistically. I think conventional wisdom or fanfare is going to be on the side of Isaac Cruz, just given where he's been thus far, or the trajectory he's been on. And I think that the odds would probably lean in the favor of Cruz as well. But I say Valenzuela, very, very, very live underdog in this contest. And you never know. He could catch Cruz with something. And that's going to be the interesting thing for the duration of the contest. I'm going to lean Isaac Cruz. And I don't know if this fight goes the distance.
Yeah. We'll see. No, I don't think it will either, to be honest. And I think Cruz will probably win by stoppage, maybe like mid to later rounds. But yeah, definitely one that's exciting. I'm just looking down this card now. Jesus, it is absolutely stacked. I've just realised there's massive heavyweight fights down here at the bottom, which we'll come on to in a second. Yeah. Andy Cruz is in action, just his 4th fight, so I guess that's going to be a bit of a showcase for him. Against what looks
Antonio Moran, solid opponent. I've seen him fight live. He got knocked out by Devin Haney here in DC, as a matter of fact, and he has bounced back since then. So of course, he's been in with some very good opponents. Showbox or ProBox TV, they did a little tournament that Antonio Moran won here like a year or so ago. So very solid veteran opponent here who is going to certainly give Andy Cruz work. Andy Cruz, just based on kind of the expectations and trajectory for him, I do expect Andy Cruz to get the victory, but Moran will certainly make him work.
Okay. We'll keep going. We'll go on to Jared Anderson, Martin Bakole. This is quite very, very interesting.
Could be considered a toss-up right here.
Could be. I'm assuming that Anderson will probably be a favourite, but I mean, Bacole's no slouch, is he? Well, I mean, he came in massive last time, but it's not a slouch in terms of boxing.
Yeah, not at all. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Jared Anderson. He was talking about taking on the best in stepping it up, essentially. Well, this is an opportunity here for sure. If he can look good against Martin Bakole and say dispatch of him in some fashion that really stands out, then that would speak volumes for Jared Anderson, who is being touted as the next big thing as far as the American heavyweight scene is concerned. Now, I think it's going to be easier said than done. Of course, this is no doubt the biggest matchup, I guess you could say, for Jared Anderson, despite Charles Martin being a former world champion. And, many people, kind of got on to Anderson for how he looked in that fight with Martin. So I think that Bakole is going to be a step up from there. And we'll see right here. I'm leaning Anderson, but I know there are others who are leaning on the side of Bakole. And, hey, can't be mad at him for such, because Bakole is just a massive guy who can box or mix it up in there to be dealing with. So step up for Anderson, and we'll see how he handles it. If he's expected to be that next guy, then he's going to need this victory.
Yeah. That's a very interesting matchup, and obviously it's going to give us a good read on where Anderson is and how good he might potentially be. So, very, very interesting matchup. Is this one, from one big baby to another.
Right.
And Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Miller. And both of these don't have an actual number of rounds on there. I'm guessing they're probably going to be 10-rounders.
Probably. Very random fight there. I remember when this popped up, thought, how random right there. Andy Ruiz pretty much became world champion and then just let every bit of momentum he had pretty much die off there after that second loss to Anthony Joshua. And it's been like, where the heck have you been there, Andy Ruiz? As we can see, he's barely fought here over the last 5 years.
That is insane. I didn't realize that, actually. I didn't realize it was, first of all, like 5 years since he beat Joshua in that.
Talk about not being able to seize the moment in terms of, man, you remember when he knocked out Joshua, he was all over the newspaper, tabloids, and everything. And then, of course, we know he looked lackluster in that second fight. And then just from there, I don't know what happened. So this is sort of a, I guess, redemption fight maybe for Andrew Ruiz to show us or the public in the world that, hey, he still got something left there in the tank and he can still be a viable guy, considered a top 10 guy, but we just need to see a bit more. And of course, we know Jarrell Miller, he's one of these guys that, of course, has had some crazy situations in his career, popping gun tests and all of that stuff. Been in with some good opponents, as you can see. He was stopped by Daniel Dubois. You would say that Andrew Ruiz is the better boxer, no doubt about it. But that being said, Jarrell Miller is likely going to come in heavier than Andrew Ruiz. And we'll see how Ruiz handles that. And ultimately, I don't know how this fight is going to go, to be honest with you. But I'm thinking maybe it's a decision. But we'll see who has the larger gas tank at the end of the day there. But I would think Andrew Ruiz, especially if he's looking to kind of rekindle that flame he once had. But, as they say, time doesn't stop, especially as you get older here in this sport.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, that, isn't it? Like Jarrell Miller's, he obviously had his suspension and his troubles, but he's come back and he's been, pretty active. And then Ruiz, who got to the very top and has just become, so inactive of late.
Yeah.
How's he going to look? Yeah, that's just a really interesting.
Very interesting concept. I'm going to lean Andrew Ruiz, but realistically, it's just going to be a matter of how. There's no way of knowing really how Ruiz is going to look coming into this contest, just given the inactivity. So we'll see for sure.
You know what? Just to make it interesting, I'm going to go Miller. Miller stoppage. All right, and then there's just one more fight on there that I wanted to mention because it looks like a pretty good matchup records-wise. We've got Stephen Nelson 19-0.
Stephen Nelson.
And then
Nelson. I need to see Rodriguez. Nelson, he's come out as show enough. It was from you had to know him from the Bruce Leroy movie. I forget what is the movie called? I can't think. But that's over here. It's a cult classic over here. Jim. So, so Stephen Nelson, solid guy. I think he's a little bit on the older end as far as relative to the amount of fights that he had and kind of when he
36 years old, not quite.
He's still looking for that big opportunity. Maybe title contention could be down the line. If he gets one of these. Well, we know Canelo. I think he just vacated the IBF or something. I believe there's the title he vacated. So maybe Nelson can work his way into something of that nature. He's a decent fighter, I would say. As far as the opponent, Marcos Rodriguez. Out of Mexico here. Eric Robles. So he's only fought in Mexico. So hard to know. We'll find out. You know what I'm saying? Because usually, it's a toss up when you have some of the guys coming out of Mexico, especially undefeated and such. Because some of them end up being world beaters. Then for others, it's just like another notch under the belt. So we'll sit there with Stephen Nelson. But he's a guy who, he's going to need to be a bit more expedient if he's expecting to get anywhere there towards the title. So we'll see, though. But I can't say with 100% certainty based on what I've seen that he's at that level.
Yep. All right, that'll conclude that one. That was a lot.
Very good card. If there were pay-per-views worth paying for, then certainly that is one.
Yeah. The dog agrees. She agrees. Pay-per-view diet. This one, Virgil Ortiz Jr. This is on August the 10th. We've only got one fight listed at the moment on BoxRec. I'm sure there's quite a few on this one as well. Give us some quick thoughts on this before we wrap things up.
Yeah, actually, very good fight. Both guys are going to bring it offensively. There's no question about it. I actually thought that Boychuk would come out on the losing end in this last contest against Brian Mendoza, but he pulled off the victory there. And big notch to him. We know Virgil Ortiz was on a hell of a trajectory there at 147 before the weight became an issue. So we're seeing him operate at 154. And his last several fights haven't really gone beyond the round. I don't know if there's, the last two, one round fights. So this will be interesting right here. So since he's been at 154, it's been 2 1-round stoppages for Virgil Ortiz. I think Boychuk's is gonna last longer than that, most certainly. I want to lean towards Virgil Ortiz, certainly considering his body work, what we know of him being able to do such there in the past. and maybe this weight works out for him a bit better. So I'll lean on the side of Virgil Ortiz, but Boychuk, live dog for sure. He's going to bring it. So it should be an interesting contest for as long as it lasts.
Yeah, looks pretty good. Right, okay. Let's just conclude then with this event, also on the 10th of August in New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Luis Albo Lopez, versus Angelo Leo. Featherweight.
Very good top level fight right there. Luis Alberto Lopez, very interesting style. One I like to watch for sure here in the sport. He's been in his bag essentially. He's in his prime, ready to go, and it's welcoming all challengers right there. So IBF World Featherweight title, Lopez. Yeah, you see the name Josh Warrington there. Yeah. So of course, that's one of the big standout names there that helped to elevate him to this level a bit more. Michael Conlon, of course. So he's been across the pond to put in that work. So he's no stranger to the competition, as we can see. So I like Lopez in this fight. Angelo Leo, solid, and used to be out of the Mayweather gym. I don't know if he's still operating there, but he's a decent boxer. And Stephen Fulton is the only one to beat him. But Angelo Leo, he doesn't have like overwhelming power or anything. I think he's just a solid overall boxer, and he will make it interesting for Lopez. But I do like Lopez to pull off the victory there via decision. I think that Leo, he has enough moxie to him that I think he is gonna last the distance in this contest. But a good fight for sure. And this is going down in Arizona. Shout out Skywalker Boxing. I know he's going to be out there covering it for Mo Boxing, no problems, I believe. So that should be a good one right there. Lindolfo Delgado, someone highly regarded, and this should be an interesting contest for sure. Him and Brian Flores. So I'm trying to remember Brian Flores. I'm trying to remember Brian, where I know Brian from, another Mexican fighter. Let's see. Okay, Jorge Bermudez. That's a solid win right there. Or no. I'm thinking of a different Bermudez, but yeah, I'm trying to wonder, have I seen him?
Looks like he's had a couple of fights in the US.
I'm thinking of a lower weight Bermudez, but okay. So yeah, he has been here.
But only a couple of times, probably.
So yeah, we'll see. But Lindolfo Delgado, he's touted. He's a cat that is expected to do some pretty solid things here in the sport, at least. And we'll see what he does here with Brian Flores. If he can end things early, all the better for him there. But interesting fight for sure. Then Abraham Perez, Matthew Grego. We actually interviewed Matthew Grego on the channel, so this should be a pretty solid flyweight title here. Those two have some history. They sparred together, all that good stuff. So this is one where somebody's always got to go, and looking forward to this one as well. Just having been able to chat with Grego. He used to be trained by Johnny Tapia. And so, yeah, he has that bravado to him and fighting style that tends to be fan friendly. So I'm looking forward to seeing Matthew in there with Perez. So that should be a good contest. And I think that's going to be on ESPN Plus, headlining that portion of the card. So, should be a good one for sure. Out of New Mexico.
Looks like a good record there for the flyweights. 10 14 wins.
Yeah,
so that's
and he can get the guys out of there. So for sure. So this should be a good one right here. You see, both of them reside in New Mexico, so it should be. They have a little history there, for sure. And then I see Vito Melnicki Jr. is fighting, so it must be a last-minute opponent in some sense. But Melnicki Jr., pretty solid overall fighter out of Jersey, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, New Jersey. So he's another prospect, or at least starting to graduate that prospect stage that he's going to have a pretty high level of expectation behind him. He should look well, certainly taking on a last-minute opponent. But expect to see that name again, Melnicki Jr., because, he's on a pretty solid trajectory overall.
All right. Great stuff. I think that about does us then. That covers all of those feature fights, and we'll recap them after the fact. On our next live stream, which will hopefully be in a couple of Sundays' time, we'll get down our schedule and we'll think of some good fights to cover. So thank you, as always, Josh, for taking your time out of your Sunday and joining us. You're going doing the opening over on 86 Boxing channel now?
Yeah, we're going to go over and do a little quick show. Just going to talk about some of the fights from the past weekend and what's in store, similar to here. So, yeah, feel free to drop by, folks.
Yeah, make sure you go and head over to 86 Boxing, check that out, check out their videos that they put out on there, and subscribe to them as well. Okay, we'll finish up there. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back again in a couple of weekends. Yeah, take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.